Good morning. This is part 2 of Graphing and Attributes of Rational Functions. This is from Chapter 8, Section 2 of the Big Ideas Algebra 2 book. Again, we are going to discuss domain, range, asymptotes, and transformations of rational functions, but written in a different form. So today we're going to be working in the form ax plus b over cx plus d. The difference between part 1 and part 2 was in part 1 we did not have an x on top. For this form we do have an x on top. So again, rule number 1, what I told you was always set your denominator equal to 0. So that's still not going to change. That's still going to give us our vertical asymptote. And so what I'm looking at is right here, the vertical asymptote. You take your denominator and you set it equal to 0. Okay, so cx plus d equals 0 no matter what numbers you have there. Now for the horizontal asymptote, this time we're going to divide my coefficients of x. So a divided by c, whatever numbers those are, even if you don't see a number, it's a 1. But again, we're looking at if x is on top and the bottom. So if you divide a divided by c, that should give you your horizontal asymptote of y equals a number. Okay, so let's go to question number 1. Again, you notice how we have an x on the top and bottom. Step number 1 for either format is to take your denominator and set it equal to 0. Solve for x, we're going to add 4 to both sides. We get x equals 4. That is going to be an asymptote that goes through 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Again, remember, an asymptote is a boundary line. It's really an imaginary line that your graph can never cross because you can never divide by a 0. Okay? To find my horizontal asymptote, right? Vertical. To find my horizontal asymptote, which is new today, I'm going to divide my coefficients. Well, on the denominator, my coefficient that I don't see is actually a 1. So 3 divided by 1, my horizontal asymptote is y equals 3. So my domain is all real numbers except x cannot equal to 4. All real numbers except x cannot equal to 4. Don't forget we talked about a different format of writing it yesterday. That's the format I prefer. Okay, something in those manners, whether you use words or not. The other format is to say that you have negative infinity to 4. It can be any number from negative infinity to 4. Union, it can also be any number from 4 to infinity. So my range is going to be all real numbers except y cannot equal to 3. Again, negative infinity to 3, because it can be any number there, but it can't be 3, which is why we use parentheses. Union 3 to infinity. So I'm going to show that one just one time. Otherwise, I'm just going to use the all real numbers except this number. Now we look at our coefficients. We have a positive 3 over a positive 1. This graph is a positive graph. So again, my branches are going to go in the first and third quadrant. And don't forget, your branches are never going to touch your asymptotes. We'll do another quick one here. Okay, so rule number 1 is take your denominator and set it equal to 0. Subtract 6, divide by 2. You get x is equal to negative 3. So draw x is equal to negative 3. Now to find my horizontal asymptote, x equals negative 3, I'm going to divide my coefficients. Now this negative sign here, I'm going to include that as part of it. So it's negative 4 divided by 2. So y equals negative 4 over 2. So y equals negative 2. Now this graph is a negative graph because of the negative sign. So my branches are actually going to go in the second, the fourth quadrants. Okay. So again, that's an asymptote right here. So my domain is all real numbers except x cannot equal -3. My range is all real numbers except y cannot equal -2. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep going. Now we're going to go, I'll just do 2 quick questions with y'all just to do the asymptotes. So again, rule number 1 is set your denominator equal to 0. So if I take that and I set it equal to 0 and I move the 7 over by adding 7, I get x equals +7. My range, I'm going to divide my coefficients. +3 divided by +1, I get y equals 3. Question number 2, again, we take our denominator and set it equal to 0. Subtract 8, divide by 4. We get x equals -2. For my horizontal asymptote, I'm going to divide my coefficients. Y equals 12 over 4, so y equals 3. Okay. So these are the differences between one format over the other. Where do we get our numbers from? So this first one, again, is practice from part 1. This is when I do not have an x on top. So for either one of these questions, rule number 1 is take your denominator and set it equal to 0 because we can never divide by 0. Okay? Add 4 to both sides, we get x equals 4. And if I do not have x on top, my horizontal asymptote is going to be the number after the fraction. So this is going to be y equals 3. Now in the format from today that we learned, you see the x on top and bottom. This one we're not going to have a number on the outside. So rule number 1 is still set your denominator equal to 0. Subtract 8 from both sides. Divide by 2, we get x equals -4. My range is going to, my horizontal asymptote is going to be the division of my coefficients. So y equals 3 divided by 2, which doesn't reduce. So my answer is y equals 3 over 2. We're going to go ahead and end the lesson here. Okay, again, if you want more clarification, you can go back to part 1 video. This is part 2, which is the format with ax plus b over cx plus d. Hope you have a great day. Subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll be posting some good videos for you.